Slide Sax, attempt 4, a pitiful failure again. The first attempt was with a reed on a tenor trombone, not much usable range, very low. Second attempt, I tried this a few times, was the slide whistle. Cutting off the mouthpiece was fine, but cutting down that slit to mimic the slide sax, which predated the slide whistle by 20 years, came out in 1933. The slide whistles that I have tried to modify are just too flimsy. They're very thin plastic and they're brittle, and it just didn't work out. Attempt 3 more recently was with PVC from the hardware store. Tried to build it like a trombone, a slide that way. That PVC is just the wrong plastic. It was not resonant at all. All it could do was squawk. So 3.5, that same day, I got some metal. It did get a good tone, but it's cylindrical, so it's really a slide clarinet, and there's not a whole lot of usable tones there, at least not for the layman. It's not a slide sax. So the next attempt, I decided to try a piccolo trombone. So yeah, I confirmed some things that I learned last time. This time, starting with a piccolo trombone that my brother 3D printed, but as you could see, it required some modification, and even then it still didn't work. Some plastics work. Like my reed recorder is mostly plastic and it works great. The body is some sort of plastic. This is a Yamaha recorder body, and it sounds fantastic. Obviously has its limitations, but you can get a clear tone out of it, which is, the important part, but not so much with, the PVC slide clarinet did not work. The metal one produced a solid tone, as you might have seen in the last video, but there's very few usable notes. It's just, and it doesn't work the way the slide sax did. So I was thinking, okay, next attempt should be a piccolo trombone. I have put a reed on a trombone. That was one of the first ones that I did it to, but it was just way too low. It's almost below human hearing. It's really hard to use. But it flares at the end. So I was hoping it wouldn't have the same problem as just a cylinder. My brother printed me a piccolo trombone out of some sort of plastic. I forget which kind. But as you can see with the reed recorder, some plastics work, others don't. And I don't know yet which ones are usable. It's really trial and error for me. But the piccolo trombone that he printed for me is very small. This is the length of the slide. And I guess I could have taken a video before I modified the instrument, but it doesn't do a lot of good. Moving the slide doesn't change the pitch at all. It's pretty useless. So I decided, I don't know why I just didn't build one from scratch. Maybe, and this is hearkening back to my teenage years, but I guess Frankenhorn 0, I think of it as, was a trombone made out of PVC. It was terrible. Other people have done it. I didn't use any plans. I just went to the hardware store and, with some basic measurements off of a real trombone and tried to reproduce it. And the ones I've seen online since then are kind of similar, and they are just as bad. It's pretty unplayable. So here's what I ended up with. It is a trombone, but it's, definitely a Frankenbone. This is the piece that he printed for me. These two pieces are ones he printed for me as well. It was poor design. There's no way to actually couple these. So I'm using, well, there's a coupler in here, and then just to reinforce to make sure that it stays, some metallic tape, some couplers on the end, and then a tuba mouthpiece. But I think because this middle bit is PVC and this curved bit is some sort of plastic, the results are not great, even with a brass mouthpiece in there. Again, not so usable, right? Not a great instrument, but it does make some sounds. So I thought maybe we're on to something. So the next piece is putting a reed on there. I picked this up today in the bargain bin. I think it was, well, anyway, they gave me 50% off this contrabass clarinet mouthpiece. No ligature, so again, I'm using metallic tape to keep it on there, which works fine. And it happens to be the exact right size to fit over this copper tubing. So it's kind of hard to control. I'm getting 3 registers, and the slide really only gives me, a half step or a whole step. So, usable for Dr. Frankenhorn, but not quite so usable for a professional musician or even a hobbyist, that actually wants to play a melody. Not going to work. And I think part of the problem, again, is that it's all these pieces, except for the bell at the very end, all of these are cylindrical. So we're basically making a slide clarinet. So, and just for reference, here's how it sounds without all the trombone bits. This is just the clarinet mouthpiece on the copper tubing. So more PVC. Yeah, I can't even get that other register consistently, so it's kind of a dead end. So yeah, I mean, I could put holes in this and make this, a copper whistle, something like that. But as far as slide sax, the cylinder is just not going to work. And I don't know if the hardware store, I've never seen, something that flares as much as with a sax. I really, and there are some metallic materials that we can 3D print. There's metal actually impregnated into the plastic, so maybe one of those materials would work, but there's no guarantee. Yeah. So that's where that project is at the moment. But I have plenty of new parts to build new horns from, and I know most of them work in other keys. Different sizes, different size parts of horns that I've already built. So there's more to come of those.